Tonight, on To the Point, banning repeated DUI offenders from buying alcohol.
This is an entirely preventable epidemic that we are facing.
The state's efforts underway to make it happen, with growing questions on how it would work. California's Attorney General asking for a pause in a Prop 50 ballot investigation. Sheriff and gubernatorial candidate Chad Bianco's response tonight. The race to replace Governor Gavin Newsom is heating up, a new poll signaling trouble for Democrats. And more seating for more fans. A new look at the major new stadium coming to the Sacramento rail yards. We are less than 3 months away from the California June primary, and the race for governor is heating up. Thank you for joining us. I'm Alex Bell. We have new information on the polls and the candidates, but first I want to get to an update on a story that we just brought to you yesterday. Riverside County Sheriff and Republican gubernatorial candidate Chad Bianco's voter fraud investigation. Attorney General Rob Bonta is now stepping in. As we reported, the sheriff seized more than 600,000 ballots in an investigation into alleged voter fraud in last November's Prop 50 election. Today, we are learning the Attorney General filed a motion to halt the Riverside Sheriff's seizure of the 2025 ballots. We talked to Sheriff Bianco today about the Attorney General's actions.
This is a lawful investigation to determine whether or not there's a discrepancy in this election that every single voter wants to know, and he is going above and beyond to try and stop it. All of these questions should be directed at him. Why do you want this stopped?
Attorney General Rob Bonta's office did respond, saying in a statement, quote, "The sheriff has not identified any particular crime that may have been committed by anyone." It goes on to say there is a robust civil process overseen by state and local election officials to request a recount or challenge the results of an election. That process has not been invoked here. Make sure you stay with us for updates. We are going to continue to follow this story. All right, in Your Voice, Your Vote, the latest on the race to succeed Governor Newsom, and it's not looking good for Democrats. A new poll by the California Democratic Party shows the two leading Republican candidates as the likely top two vote getters. ABC 10 State Matters political reporter Jenny Huh is tracking the race for us.
If you're polling at 1 to 2%, do you have a path to get to 20? That's the question. Do you have a path to put you in a position to win the primary election?
Chair of the California Democratic Party, Rusty Hicks, once again calling on lower performing candidates to drop out of the race to succeed Governor Gavin Newsom.
They know when they're viable and when they're not. They know when they have a path to the general election or not.
Yet Hicks still refuses to name those candidates directly.
Their efforts are weak and late in terms of trying to consolidate the field.
My personal opinion is yes, it is. Well, I think the backroom discussions are getting louder now.
On Tuesday morning, the party released the first results of its voter index effort, a series of polls to track candidate performance leading up to the June primary. Republican Steve Hilton and Chad Bianco are on top with 16% and 14% of likely primary voters, respectively. Democrats Eric Swalwell, Katie Porter, and Tom Steyer in a three-way tie with 10%. The rest of the crowded field polls in single digits.
These results confirm the possibility, albeit a low one, the possibility of Democrats being locked out of the general election.
Well, Democrats certainly cannot claim that the poll is biased because they pick the pollster. I mean, they have egos like everybody else. They seem to think that they have a chance to win this thing.
All this amid the cancellation of a controversial gubernatorial debate by the University of Southern California, which had excluded the 4 top minority candidates. The methodology was questioned as it included latecomer San Jose Mayor Matt Mahan, who has also been polling in the single digits, but has the backing of Silicon Valley money and is supported by some affiliated with debate organizers.
So this year's governor's race, we've had this unprecedented effort to try to limit choice for voters and, sidelining candidates and frankly, pushing them out of the race. I'm not going to let that happen.
Former state controller and Democratic candidate for Governor Betty Yee spoke to media Tuesday afternoon, as did billionaire Democrat Tom Steyer, who attempted to organize a moderated town hall on his own dime Tuesday night in Los Angeles, though it ultimately did not happen.
In this campaign, there is money from billionaires all over the place, including my own. But ultimately, the people of California are going to have to make a choice on message and who they trust.
Jenny Huh, ABC 10.
And the next round of results in this series of polls by the California Democratic Party is expected in 2 weeks. And I just want to give you a reminder, even if any candidates drop out of the race, their names will remain on the ballot due to state election law. So don't forget about that when you're looking at your ballots. All right, tonight, Republican candidate Steve Hilton is calling on Education Secretary Linda McMahon to suspend funding to USC over the debate cancellation. In the request, he says, quote, "This was an important debate. Californians were expecting to hear directly from the candidates in a crowded race about the future of our state." He is also asking USC's president to resign. Now, I sat down with the 8 top Democratic candidates for governor, asking why they are running for governor and their priorities for the state if elected. You can stream those interviews right now on our app. We are also working to sit down with the Republican candidates as we continue our coverage of the race for California's next governor. Drunk driving. Tonight, some state lawmakers are calling it an entirely preventable epidemic. They have bills working through the state legislature right now that could drastically change lives. ABC 10's Becca Habegger is following them and joins us right now with an update.
Alex, one bill aims to ban repeat DUI offenders from being able to purchase alcohol. Now, supporters say this addresses the root cause of drunk driving, but opponents say it goes too far.
We have an epidemic as a state. We're not leading in resolving this, and we cannot do it by keeping the status quo.
Democratic Assemblymember Rhodesia Ransom of Stockton, speaking Tuesday at a hearing of the Assembly Public Safety Committee, wants to address California's drunk driving problem. According to the California Office of Traffic Safety, alcohol-impaired driving remains one of the primary causes of deadly and serious injury crashes on California roads. In 2023, 1,355 people were killed in alcohol-involved crashes.
This is an entirely preventable epidemic that we are facing.
So she is working to pass Assembly Bill 1605 to give judges the option to prohibit certain DUI offenders from buying alcohol anywhere in the state, including at stores, bars, and restaurants, by putting a no alcohol sales designation on their driver's license.
This bill will give us an opportunity to deal with the root cause, which is access to alcohol for people who cannot handle it responsibly or who have demonstrated an addiction.
She says the state already has safeguards for repeat offenders like license suspensions and ignition interlock devices, but says some people get around those and calls a ban on alcohol sales another tool to keep the public safe. Though opponents point out someone with a passport could just use that as their ID. According to the current version of the bill, which passed the Public Safety Committee with amendments, judges may impose a no alcohol sales driver's license for certain repeat offenders, including someone with 3 or more priors in the past 10 years, a driver convicted of DUI causing bodily injury with 1 prior in the past decade, and several other instances of repeat offenses. A judge could impose this ban for no longer than the length of the person's probation.
Restorative justice and rehabilitation both require accountability.
But opponents, including Hien Nguyen with Legal Services for Prisoners with Children and Rebecca Miller with the Western Center on Law and Poverty, say a visible prohibition on someone's driver's license carries a stigma that could hurt job and housing prospects.
An employer seeing a mark doing a required I-9 verification or a landlord reviewing IDs will have immediate grounds for discrimination, even if the individual has completed probation or maintain sobriety.
A designation on their driver's license advertises a criminal conviction far beyond the intended scope and with questionable value for public safety.
Both opponents say this could disproportionately impact low-income, Black, Latinx, and Indigenous people. Ransom says she's also focusing on victims of drunk driving crashes and preventing more people from becoming victims. Her bill heads next to the Assembly Governmental Organization Committee.
And this isn't the only bill. There's actually another bill right now moving through the legislature, right?
Yeah, that's right. One even that goes further than Assemblymember Ransom's. Assemblymember David Tongipa, he's a Republican from Fresno. He has a bill that would impose a lifetime ban on alcohol sales for third-time offenders within 10 years who are also sentenced to state prison. And his bill is due next in the Assembly Public Safety Committee.
Yep, we'll be following this. Becca, thank you so much as always. All right, a bipartisan group of Assembly members announced a group of bills aimed to help bring down building costs and make housing more affordable. Bills in the Housing Innovation Package include AB 306, which would create a statewide process for consistent building code interpretations. AB 1815 would bar local governments from enforcing stricter building standards than the state minimum. The other 4 bills apply to factory-built housing. California counties are calling on the governor and the state legislature to protect them from federal cuts to local communities. The California State Association of Counties says that the so-called One Big Beautiful Bill shifts billions in costs for health care, food assistance, and other safety net programs. Now, it estimates an impact of up to $9.5 billion a year. As a solution, the counties propose a multi-year state partnership with a $1.9 billion investment in the upcoming budget, and then a $4.5 billion request coming up in the following year. Now, keep in mind, the state is facing a projected $18 billion deficit. Still ahead on to the point, we're seeing it. Long TSA lines continue across the country, but a new funding deal might finally bring some relief. And then prosecutors take the federal government to court, the legal battle unfolding in Minnesota over access to evidence in 2 deadly shootings.
And after a few weeks that have felt more like summer, the pattern's finally switching. At the start of April, normal temperatures and some showers. I've got to look at the forecast after the break.
But first, in other headlines tonight, a Placer County Sheriff's deputy was hurt in a crash in Roseville while responding to a reported school shooting threat at Granite Bay High School. This happened just after noon today. The school was put on lockdown until it was determined there was no active shooter. The deputy is expected to be okay. A New Mexico jury found that social media giant Meta is harmful to children's mental health and in violation of the state's consumer protection law. Prosecutors accused Meta of placing profits over safety. They also said the company failed to adequately monitor the platforms for child sexual exploitation. The landmark decision comes after a nearly 7-week trial. And federal investigators say a runway warning system did not sound an alarm before an Air Canada jet and a fire truck collided at LaGuardia Airport. The head of the NTSB said today the system didn't work as intended because the fire truck did not have a transponder. 2 pilots were killed and dozens were hurt in the crash. NASA wants to build a permanent base on the moon. The agency says that the goal is to strengthen U.S. leadership in space by establishing a sustained human presence. The plan includes more frequent missions, initially every 6 months. The first crewed moon mission since the 1970s is set to begin next year. Now, Brendan, I feel like I know the answer to this question, but if you had the chance to go to the moon, would you go? You wouldn't. Oh, I'm wrong. Just kidding. I thought you said I thought you would go.
I don't think I would, no.
No? Too dangerous?
A little bit too much risk for me, you know?
Me too.
I like to keep my feet, right here, terra firma.
Right here in Sacramento. Right here.
Yeah, in front of the weather wall. That's what I do best, right? Study meteorology, not meteors. So 85 in Sacramento, 86 in Stockton, 86 in Modesto. All new daily high temperature records today. Still talking about daily high temperature records, still talking about temperatures running way above normal. 72 in Tahoe today. That is more than 20 degrees from where they should be. Plus 23 in Tahoe. In the valley, 15 to 20 degrees warmer than normal. Since last Sunday, not the one we just had, the one before that, March 15th, we've been in the 80s every single day. 88 Wednesday and Friday, the warmest that we have seen ever in the month of March. Ties a record set back in 1989 for warmest temperatures ever seen in March. But every single one of these days has been a record in and of itself. But it's not just the daily records. We're also setting records for the most 80-degree days in the month of March. That number is 10. That's also the most 80-degree days in a row in the month of March. The previous record there was 6 days. Still in the 80s right now across most of the valley. 81 Sacramento, 82 Stockton, 83 in Modesto, 66 in Truckee, and 65 in Tahoe. Wednesday morning starting off in those upper 40s and low 50s. much closer to where we should be in the morning hours. Wednesday afternoon, though, still well above where we ought to be. Normal high 68. I've got us about 83 in Sacramento, 83 Stockton, 84 in Modesto, 77 in Jackson, 68 in Truckee, and 66 in Tahoe. Look at Thursday. Temperatures upper 70s and low 80s could bring an end to that stretch of 80-degree days. We're also going to see some wind by the time we get to Thursday. Winds out of the north, gusting up to about 35, maybe 40 miles per hour for places on the west side of the valley. But this high pressure finally moving out, and by the time we get to the start of April, we could be looking at some showers across Northern California. Right now, it does not look like a big storm, just some light showers, but we'll have to wait and see how things develop because this is still a system that is more than a week away, and that's a long time in the weather forecasting business. Alex.
All right, Brendan, thank you. After more than a month without pay, tonight some hope for TSA workers. Coming up, what we're learning about a possible new funding deal. And a game changer for Sacramento sports, the major new stadium built for soccer, and it's bigger than first planned when fans can expect to cheer for the team in the new space. A deal to fund the Department of Homeland Security, which includes TSA agents, might be getting closer to reality. The potential deal comes as DHS now has a new leader and as flyers across the country are facing worsening TSA security lines at airports. Michael Yoshida reports for us tonight.
Frustrations for flyers.
We've been here at least an hour and 15 minutes in line. Got up at like some ungodly hour to get an 8:15 flight.
Across the country, travelers still seeing hours-long security lines at some major U.S. airports.
You think it's not going to be that bad, but then you get here and, you think, oh man, it really is as bad as they say it is.
Call-outs from Transportation Security Administration officers continue as they haven't been paid since mid-February. Monday, Immigration and Customs Enforcement agents were sent to 14 airports, including some of those hardest hit by TSA staffing shortages. The White House Borders Czar said ICE agents are assisting with simpler tasks.
I don't believe that they're trained in a way that they can help us. Since I've been here, I've seen them outside standing around. I don't know if they are doing anything, I don't know.
Monday, Republican lawmakers emerged from the White House with a plan to mostly fund the DHS and begin paying TS agents again. According to a source familiar with the talks, a portion of immigration enforcement funding and pieces of President Trump's voter ID bill known as the Save America Act, which the president has said is needed for any deal, would be left out and require separate legislation. A plan key Democrats seem open to, but want to see in writing.
The cleanest thing to do is to just fund TSA. Let's do it today.
As negotiations continue, Tuesday, former Senator Markwayne Mullin was sworn in as the new head of DHS, replacing the embattled former Secretary Kristi Noem. In Washington, Michael Yoshida.
State and local prosecutors in Minnesota are suing the federal government for blocking access to evidence in 3 immigration-related shootings. 2 of those shootings were deadly. The lawsuit is seeking evidence about the shooting of Julio Solis and the killings of Renee Good and Alex Preddy. The separate shootings happened while federal agents were carrying out an immigration enforcement operation in January.
The federal government has refused to cooperate with state law enforcement, which is unique, rare, and simply cannot be tolerated. We can't sit around and let them do it. Cooperation between the federal government and the state law enforcement in Minnesota is a routine thing.
The lawsuit claims that the federal government reneged on its promise to cooperate with state investigations after the surge of federal law enforcement in Minneapolis. And now to the war in Iran. Blasts continue around the region despite President Trump claims of productive negotiations. Today, new Iranian strikes blasted Tel Aviv. Israeli authorities saying that a missile was intercepted, damaged buildings and cars. New strikes today in Tehran, too. Video shows the aftermath, an entire building seemingly destroyed. The team trying to rescue someone trapped in the rubble. President Trump says that the U.S. is engaged in productive talks with Iran to bring the war to an end.
The other side, I can tell you, they'd like to make a deal. And who wouldn't if you were there? Look, their Navy's gone, their Air Force is gone.
The U.S. military is preparing to deploy around 1,000 troops from the 82nd Airborne Division in the Middle East. That's according to a source with knowledge of the plans. The unit is considered the Army's emergency response force and can typically be deployed on short notice. We're back right after this. All right, an update now to a story that we brought to you just earlier in the show. The state attorney general's effort to stop sheriff and gubernatorial candidate Chad Bianco from seizing ballots in Riverside County has been halted for now. We just heard from the AG's office, who says in part that the facts have not changed. The court's decision was based on where the case was filed, and they are evaluating next steps. We will have more on this case coming up on Late News tonight at 11. But before we go, the largest outdoor professional sports and entertainment facility in Sacramento is coming to the rail yards. Yep, Wilton Rancheria and Sacramento Republic FC announced today their long-planned stadium will be built with more than 20,000 seats from the start. And the project, called Republic Stadium, will be built at the rail yards. Now, it was designed primarily for soccer, with a seating capacity exceeding 20,000 for matches. For concerts and large events, officials say that it could accommodate up to 27,000 people. The timeline calls for work to continue through 2027. As always, thank you so much for watching, for always inviting us into your home. If you have something you think the team and I should be looking into, you can always reach out to us at tothepoint@abc10.com. And if you missed any stories or you need updates, don't forget, we have that free streaming app that you can download straight to your TV and get caught up on newscasts and stories anytime. Have a great night. I'll see you right back here tomorrow.